going on, everyone, and welcome to The Words Are Not Enough, our James Bond podcast. We're bringing you the latest and greatest from our favorite super spy. We're breaking it down, we're talking about it, we're gushing over it because we love this man and this franchise. I am one of your hosts, Griffin 008 Schiller, and I'm joined, as always, by my lovely co-host, Mr. Brody 005 Saravelli. Brody!
Oh.
It has been a fucking hot minute here.
It has been it's always a hot minute. That's just the standard at this point. So like, why even deny it?
I know first of all, we are doing something a bit different this time. If you are watching this on YouTube, we are now doing video, and we felt that video might be a little bit more beneficial for this particular episode, make it a little bit more engaging, but that does not mean the audio won't be on the podcast feed. It will be on the podcast feed, but we're gonna try something out here because now Brody uses more than a toaster to record video, so that really helps in that department, right?
I'm on blast right now. I didn't realize I wasn't prepared. I actually didn't even know we were going to do video until like right before we started.
Right.
As you can tell by my grooming, but
by your handlebar mustache.
Yeah, exactly. It's like sort of just growing out of control. I started to look like it's like there's like in You Don't Live Twice, Blofeld has kind of like a little Fu Manchu thing going on.
Oh, there we go. We can tie it in somehow.
I'm gonna tie it into there. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I guess that works.
Please don't say I have a Fu Manchu mustache in the comments. That's a dated trope. But,
it is a dated trope.
Anyway.
Good Lord. Anyways, yes.
Would not prove.
Right. But, so, we've been away for a little bit of a hiatus. To be fair, there wasn't that much going on to talk about, so it's not like our hiatus was unwarranted. I mean, there was like a poster, there was like a few pictures. You can only talk about that for so much, or for so long. But now we've got some fucking meat, you know? Let me do
a recap of what our show would have been if we had done it.
Oh, right, yes, go ahead.
Hey, the trailer's gonna drop next week, and then the next week, it didn't drop, but I heard 2 weeks from now it's gonna drop. Nah, it didn't drop, guys. But that would have been that like ad nauseum until it actually dropped. So,
exactly.
Because I feel like there were rumors every other day about like, oh, we're gonna have the trailer's gonna come out like end of October, or like it's gonna come out, like everyone had a theory.
It was just speculation after speculation.
I'm sure it came from somewhere, but it was not true. So,
I mean, yeah, I don't disagree, and a lot of it was just
I don't begrudge anyone for saying that, obviously, but
sure. Well, and it was also a lot of, oh, is this Daily Mail rumor true? Oh, is this like what the fuck is the other one? Like is this Mirror article true? Is this Sun article true? And it's just like we can't really talk about that. No, we are going to start diving into the films more. I know we've been saying this ad nauseum every single time we do an episode, but I promise you we're going to dive into the films. We've only talked about 2 thus far, and very random choices, but we always
talk about them in some capacity.
Exactly. That's the thing. But we are here for a reason. We are here because the first trailer
of
No Time to Die. It is going to be a mini series available on Apple TV. Oh, I'm sorry, Disney Plus. Disney Plus, yes.
It'll be on Netflix, and it'll be a 3.5-hour movie that you can watch as a mini series if you don't have the attention span to watch a 3.5 hour.
Exactly. I'm actually creating a graphic right now where you can follow along and split the film up into separate parts for your consumption.
When Bond says you're a 00 now, or then you stop and you pick up again when she goes 2 years, and then you watch until Felix says, "I only trust you for this," and then. But anyway,
you get the gist of it. Yeah. But anyways, yes, we are here for a reason. We are here to break down and discuss the first trailer for No Time to Die. But before we get into that trailer, I do want to just kind of talk about that little tease that they threw out on Sunday night, which. It's kind of become the norm now to tease the trailer that's going to be coming later on in that week. But something about that teaser was just so I don't even know how to describe it. I couldn't stop watching it. It was just great. It really set the tone for what the inevitable trailer was going to be, which is what that little tease should do. And just the first thing that immediately stuck out to me were the visuals, which we will absolutely get into when discussing this trailer. But I don't know. I was so hyped just based off of that little tease, which is not something you can usually say. And I think that really like got us even more excited for this trailer, more than we already were. So, which is crazy. So, I know you were super hyped on that little tease too. We couldn't stop. You were like, texted me or something. You were like, I didn't realize that the James Bond account was allowed to drop literal porn onto it. It was just fucking.
I mean,
funny.
it was. Yeah, I think the same with like it was the visual, like the color palette, like the saturation of the image, like all that stuff was like the first thing I noticed. And the second thing was how tactile all the action felt. It didn't feel glossy, and that's another thing that ended up because they had like the little tease, and I was like, oh wow, the action looks great. And then we got the Black Widow trailer, which had a lot of CGI, and then we jumped to this, and it really put into perspective for me. I was like, it's like, holy shit, like it looks not real, because obviously it's not real, but it looks like tactile. It looks
they use
like it exists in a real space, and
it kind of reminded us of like what films can be when they approach action from a more practical heavy perspective, which thankfully the Bond films do very well for the most part. Even like throughout the years, they really, except for Die Another Day, but that's another story. Anyways, last thing,
like actual action, and just
they
one
did
very famously not good one.
Yes, right. that is true. But the last thing I do want to touch on before we get into the actual trailer breakdown are the character posters, because I absolutely love these posters. And I know some people were kind of mixed on them. I granted,
really, I didn't see. I haven't heard anyone be mixed on it.
I saw some mixed opinions on them. I did, and I was like, what are you doing here, guys? Here's the thing where it comes to, when it comes to character posters. They're not the greatest pieces of art, but they're cool. It gives you a little taste of the personality of the people on display in the posters. And I just love the color palette for this film. And the first thing that struck out that struck me was the fucking tactical outfit that they have Bond in on that poster. The drawstring sweater. I don't know whose idea that was, but I'm in love with it. I'm in love with that look. I'm assuming it's the same look that we see him in when he's going in the tunnel stuff, where it's like the suspenders and the t-shirt. I assume that is underneath the drawstring sweater. So I don't know. There's just a lot of really great creative choices going on here. Rami Malek with the fucking cape.
The cape / cloak / robe thing was. That's the first thing I noticed. I was just like, oh, okay. That took me aback. I was like, that's such a bold costuming choice, I guess.
Yeah, it's like, and when we talk about the trailer, it definitely ties into.
Keep teasing this trailer.
I know. We're gonna get to it, but it definitely ties into Rami having more of he's got like a god complex, and so like him having this like religious cloak, it's so perfect. But anyways, I love the character posters. I think they look really cool, as opposed to a lot of promotional material we get that looks very Photoshop heavy and just kind of like gross and very phony and fake. These posters maintained that groundedness that we've gotten from every single piece of marketing we've seen from No Time to Die, and they're awesome. I mean, the background on my fucking phone is Craig in that incredible tactical outfit. Good Lord, man, I can't get enough of this.
It's interesting that they threw Q in there and no one else.
Q has had a character poster in every single film that he's been in.
But he was also a big part of those previous two films, and it doesn't seem like he's going to be a huge part of this one, but maybe that poster is indicating that he will be. But
that's true. Yeah. That's true.
Which actually ties into something that I noticed about the trailer, so we'll talk about that, I guess.
Let's just stop fucking beating around the bush. Let's stop talking about posters. Let's stop talking about teasers for the trailer. Let's just talk about the actual trailer. Let's break this thing down. Starting with our overall thoughts. Brody, I'm going to go to you first. What did you make of this beautiful 2 minutes and 30 seconds worth of footage?
It to be so long. It was. I was not prepared.
I know.
I was like, oh, we're probably gonna get like a 40-second, like, because I thought it was gonna be like a teaser. I was like, okay, it's gonna be like maybe a minute, maybe a minute and a half. Nah, they really just gave us a full.
They went
trailer.
in, and you know what? They had to. They had to because they're 5 months out from the release of the film. They needed to give us a little more than just a Bond is coming. They already did that back in October. We got that with the first poster, with that little like the title reveal and all that shit.
Even the little teaser for the tease felt like a teaser.
Exactly.
So
they needed to sell us on this film. They needed to bring, get people excited about Bond again, which I think they did tenfold. And
they needed something meaty to put in front of Star Wars.
Absolutely. You know what's crazy? I've call me like insane or whatever. I've completely forgotten about Star Wars right now, and I'm just like I'm geared on Bond. I don't care about Star Wars coming out. I mean, I'm seeing Star Wars in like a week or two or whatever, and I should be stoked out of my mind for that. I don't. I'm just on Bond right now. This trailer got me so fucking excited.
Hyper focused. Yeah, I was. It was. Yeah. I honestly, I loved everything about it. I loved. I guess we'll get into specifics in a second because we're going to keep pushing everything down the track. But but basically, I loved how because it didn't show us anything really. It was mostly it put us in the headspace of where like Bond is as a character. It put us like it sort of set the character drama up. Yeah, and we got like we got hints, like indications that. I'm doing like my Bernie Sanders, like waving my arms around, but it's huge. But it gave us like a hint that there was going to be that there is a big plot going on, a big villain plot, but we didn't really get any specifics on that. It just focused on Bond and Madeline and Nomi, and just sort of how all those characters are going to interplay with each other. Yeah, which I think was the perfect way to do it.
Well, that's exactly right. What this trailer did perfectly was it set the stage and it just texturized the synopsis we already had. It really kind of just put it into perspective as to like what actually is going on. The words, yeah, exactly. And then obviously we had the Blofeld reveal in there, which I'm gonna fucking take credit for. That we did that on this show. Well, Rodrigo did that, but we still we broke that thing on this show. I'm very happy about that.
I love that. Like it was literally the way, because they dropped that like Entertainment Weekly, I think, dropped that image of him and Madeline in the room the day before. Yeah, and then that scene was in the trailer because when I spoke to Rodrigo for that episode, he literally said like it's going to be a Silence of the Lambs thing where Madeline is talking to, because like he didn't just say Blofeld was going to be in it. He said like this is how he's going to be in it. Yeah, at least for the beginning. And it literally in the trailer that was just exactly what it was.
Exactly that. Yeah,
which was so cool. That was gratifying.
It was. Well, that kind of speaks to something else. Which, if you've been following us for any point in time, kind of like the theories we've had about this film. The predictions we've made. I just like to go out there and say we basically predicted what was going to happen for a lot of this.
Do we need to do that?
Do we need to say that? But like I think what it just like
get a little too cocky.
I know. It's just really gratifying to see that we were on the right track, and then also to see that the creative choices that are being made are like align with where we kind of hoped the story would go.
That's cool. Yeah, that is nice. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm so glad that Madeline, not only did Madeline is not going to die. She's not going to die. At least
definitely not. Yeah.
At least not until the end of the film, which I don't even think of. That's not going to happen. I'm not predicting that. Yeah. But it's nice that was confirmed, and not only that was confirmed that the dynamic of their relationship, because I tweeted this out, and I've spoken about this on the show before, but like the dynamic of their relationship that I was hoping to see, and that I thought made sense going forward, would be that Bond doesn't trust her because he doesn't trust anyone, and then
exactly.
And then it's literally the first scene of the trailer.
It's the first scene in the which let's get into that first scene. The pre studio indents sequence
which is also going to be the pre-title sequence.
Well, right. Well, we are well, let's kind of talk about that right now. You think that the Matera stuff is going that is Matera, right?
Yeah. And I mean, we've heard that already, that it's gonna be that was gonna be the pre-title sequence, but
you brought up something else that I think might actually is more in line with where it's going to be, and you said that it's going to be the flashback of Madeline as a kid being hunted down by supposedly Rami Malek and his like disciples or whatever, which we get a little hint of that in the trailer, which we'll get to in a little bit, but I think that would make sense as a pre-title sequence as well, just given it might be a little weird to insert a flashback into this film. I don't know. They might do that. Yeah. But that feels like a strong opening statement, especially, showing Madeline, really just like bolstering immediately Madeline's character from where she was in Spectre, showing how she's going to be playing a large part in this film, and how it's like her... The demons from her past are going to be what's causing issues here. And so I feel like because that's so integral to the plot, doing a cold open with that makes the most sense to me. But
that would be cool, yeah.
Bond films traditionally like to start off with a bang, with a big action set piece. So if that's not what it's going to be, I think you're probably right. This car chase where it's like them kind of at odds with each other. I love how...
I think it would make sense chronologically if, like, because I at one point I did think it was gonna be the flashback, like, back to when she was a child, and I could still see it being that, but I think in terms of like the chronology, I've got to assume that this breakup that they have happens several years before the meat of the film.
Well, here's the thing. Could we not...
I would assume.
Right. I would also agree. Could we not have that flashback happen first and then go into the car chase? Kind of just to set the stage.
Yeah, you can just make it that's the thing. Yeah, you could have two sequences before the pre-title sequence, like I'm sorry, as the pre-title sequence.
Yeah.
So you could have like that being your cold open, and then that leads into, maybe she had like a nightmare about it, and then that leads into their like they get attacked and they have to drive a chase, and then they have their big breakup, and then you have the title sequence, and then you jump to like 5 years later when they're separated and Bond's in Jamaica. Yeah. That would make sense. And also it's chronological, because I got to assume that would happen first, and then I just don't see them breaking up more than like at least 3 years before the main thing, because they seem very estranged from what we've seen in the trailer. Like, they have that big blowout fight, and then when they're in the MI6, it doesn't seem as heated anymore, which makes me think that time has passed. I don't know.
I would also agree.
At the same time, Blofeld's still like pulling at strings, so I think they're probably still like connected in some way, romantically, but. Right. I think it's just strange. I think they just parted ways, and it wasn't. Maybe they got married and they just didn't get divorced. I don't know.
That's entirely possible. I don't even know if they've got married at that point.
I don't think they would got married either, but it's possible. Like, I'm just trying to think of a way to like have them, because Blofeld's clearly pulling at strings, like pulling at threads anyway. Yeah. He's like when he says like, like she's got a secret and it's gonna tear you apart, like essentially like it's what do you say, like it'll be your end. Yeah. The end of you, but like I can't see him, like, if they had been separated for 5 years, I can't see him like pulling at that thread as aggressively, but maybe. Who knows?
No, for sure. Getting back to that to the pre-indent sequence though, this thing fucking starts off like with a bang. I mean, we see the immediate conflict between Madeline and Bond. He's not trusting her. I loved how they're tying it back into Casino Royale with Vesper. That through line that has been his Achilles heel throughout the entirety of his tenure as Bond is coming back again. Maybe rightfully so. It does seem like he's over. Speaking of that. Oh yeah, go ahead. I was gonna say, speaking of that, I was talking to someone on Twitter about this, and they actually pointed something out that I didn't fully notice until they mentioned it. But I love they pointed out that his line about like everybody has secrets is almost a direct
like contradiction of him saying like everyone has a tell in Casino Royale. Where it's like in Casino Royale he was very confident that he understood people, and now after Vesper he doesn't even pretend to understand people. He just instantly doesn't trust them.
Exactly. I know. I picked up on that too.
That's such a succinct way of like sort of tying that whole thing together. I thought that was a really cool moment, but and it ties into like the conversation they're having, which is that he doesn't trust her.
Right.
Like he doesn't even believe her. But,
no, it's great, and I love these, and we'll get into some of the shots. Well, I guess we can get into them now. A lot of these shots are very like front facing, very like I don't want to say flat, but they're just there's not a whole lot of like
dead on.
Yeah, they're like dead on, and that's something that Cary Fukunaga has used in a lot of his other works, specifically Maniac. And I think when used correctly, it is so effective, but it's also very distinct to him as a filmmaker. So I love that we're getting those little bits of him as of like what he's going to bring to the table. His fingerprints are all over this, and like, you know, kudos to him and Linus Sandgren for creating the visual palette of this film, which is striking. By the way, it is one of the most distinct looking Bond films I think I have ever seen, and this is only the fucking trailer. And then like the action on top of that, these are some incredible sequences. Like, it's almost like Fukunaga knew, like, we got to come to play here, guys. Like, I hate to bring in Mission Impossible, but like, it's hard not to, where it's like, look at what they're doing with practical effects, and not everything has to be like the Tom Cruise level of intensity, but we have to bring that same, like, you know, that same spectacle to these films, because we used to have that. That used to be our thing. So let's bring it back to the table. Let's excite people. I mean, we get that right off the bat with that car chase, with him like jumping. I love that shot of him just like looking at the camera and then like jumping over the bridge, or maybe like an aqueduct or whatever it was, an aqueduct or whatever. But like, I love
on top of that, like just like going back to the car for a second and talking about the way it's shot. I love the way that they've shot the interiors, the car interiors.
Yeah.
I think there is something very, because I think sometimes you notice this a lot with like Marvel movies sometimes and other big blockbusters.
Yeah.
You get like sort of the modern equivalent of like the rear screen projection, where it looks really fake, and it's like obviously they're just like in a studio, and then you cut to like the actual on location shooting, and then you cut back to them in the studio. And this was so seamless. I thought like the way they shot these interiors of the car, and we know because they had that big rig on top of the car, they were shooting it.
They were actually shooting it on the car. Yes, exactly.
And you can tell it looks like just the momentum of it, the everything, the color of it. It looks great.
Yeah.
And it sucked me in. Like I wasn't looking at that, and because like, that usually like sucks me out. Where I'm like, I'll see that and I'll go like, okay, it's not like the worst thing ever, but it kind of takes me out of it. That it was like watching someone fight in a car, which actually added to the intensity. It's just like, holy shit, you guys are in a car chase right now. Can you please like stop arguing?
Exactly. Well, that's immediately the first thing that I got from this opening of the trailer, and really the entire trailer in general, is this sense of urgency, this energy, this intensity.
It was like pulse pounding. Yeah,
it was pulse pounding. It was breakneck. It was like, this is what you want to come out with the first trailer. It was explosive in all the best ways. And it let us know, it's like, hey, it's Craig's final film. Dude is going out with a bang, and we're going to really step up our game here. When it comes to the action, when it comes to the visuals, when it comes to the story, because that was the other thing that really struck me about this, was because I went back and I watched all of the previous Craig trailers, and they're one of two things. They're either like the traditional like Bond going on a mission kind of trailer, or like, I guess in terms of like the Skyfall and the Spectre ones, they're a little they're more reminiscent of just like traditional modern trailers, I guess you could say. It's just like a work of art in that regard. Whereas like this trailer was very narrative driven. It was all about setting the story and introducing these story points. And it's what separates it from the trailers that have come before it. I'm not saying it's better. I'm not saying it's worse, but it's what makes it distinct, along with just the overall look of it. So that was one of the things that I really liked about it as well. But moving past the studio end, we get to Bond retired in Jamaica. and him encountering Felix saying like, "Hey, I got a job for you," and all stuff like that. I just,
I love that he called him brother.
yeah, I know. Well, first of all,
you're the only one I trust.
Fucking so excited to see Jeffrey Wright back. God damn it. I love this man. He is the perfect Felix Leiter.
He's so good.
I know he's so great. And then after that we get to see Nomi. Is it Nomi or Numi or what is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Nomi.
I believe. I mean, I haven't heard anyone say it, but that's how.
Yeah,
I
know. That's the only. It's like I haven't heard someone say it. But anyways, yeah. And then she gets introduced, and all of her sequences are so cool, man. And
it looks like completely different. Like she looks cool, calm, collected, and suave, like Bond does.
Yeah.
But she feels more militaristic. There's more like kind of a regimented efficiency about her that I thought was actually kind of cool.
Well, it's a nice contrast to Bond, who's he's almost like. Yeah, he's got the training down. He's got the marksmanship and the spy abilities, but it's almost like a contrast between the two different eras of espionage.
Exactly. He's like a gentleman spy, and then she's like Zero Doctor.
Exactly. That was exactly what this is exactly what I was thinking. I was like, she's like totally a product of like this
special
decade.
ops,
spec ops type thing. Whereas like he's like very much a product of like the 60s Cold War. Like he's gonna go in and like I'm
gonna mingle with them, and I'm gonna
it's very like egotistical. Exactly. Which you immediately picked up on that first, but I love the line where she's like, you try to do anything or what, I forget what exactly she says, but she's like, I'm gonna shoot you.
You get in my way.
You get in my way. I'm gonna shoot you in your knee. The one that doesn't work, or the one that works.
The one that worked. Yeah,
that was so funny. And if you've read, Empire did a little breakdown of this trailer, where they interviewed Cary Fukunaga, had him breaking down some of the bits. If you read that and you read the part that pertains to Nomi, they say that was a nice jab at Craig's injuries that he's sustained over the course of his tenure as Bond. Like he did something to his knee on Spectre. He broke his ankle on this film, and so that was kind of just a little.
It's nice to know that was intentional.
Yeah, exactly. So it was just kind of funny that they brought that up. But cool. I don't know. I'm loving all this. And then where's it go? Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I was just saying with her. I love. I know a lot of people. I just want to address this because it's going to piss me off otherwise. Because she's obviously very confrontational with him, and I've seen a couple people have issues with that. But I just want to make it like, and it's going to sound like I'm being a dick, but it's like, would you really have an issue if someone else was being confrontational with Bond? No. So like, let's just chill. Exactly. Okay, she's meant to be antagonizing him. That's the point. Let's just calm down. I've seen people say it like ruins the trailer for them, which is a little melodramatic. Yeah, literally, I was like, it's like random people you see on like Instagram, like so it's that level of like.
There's I know
film literacy, I guess. But it's I mean, she's there to challenge Bond. That's the point of her character. And if you can't handle that, then you may have to re-examine some of your own biases. That's all I'm going to say.
Yes, I could not agree more.
Anyway, moving on from that.
Yes, anyways. Oh, no, go ahead. Yeah, where do we go from here?
Just where we go from here. The next thing in the trailer, because like then they show up in London.
Yeah.
And then you get that great little joke, probably one of my favorite deliveries of
James Bond.
Because like it's, again, hammering home this sort of like this. No, it feels different from, because I know people are gonna mention this. It feels different from Skyfall in that one he was kind of gone, and it was more about him as an institution being a relic.
Yeah.
And this, it literally just feels like the man is a relic. Like he is coming back, and no one remembers him really. Mm-hmm. Or at least he's not the big deal that he used to be.
So relevant, very meta. I loved that about it because that's the one thing that I'm kind of glad that Fukunaga is doing with this. Well, and I guess Phoebe Waller-Bridge and the rest of the writers as well. It's like they are exploring Bond's place in like in the modern world, in this new decade, in the 2020s. It's very appropriate and timely, and I think especially since we've been with Craig since 2006, him having that age and us having that attachment to him, it is the next logical step. And it's what I wish they had done with Roger Moore in A View to a Kill. And I'm just glad that we're actually getting that exploration here with Daniel Craig, because I think it is very appropriate. It is something that when we get these actors and they're aging, it is something that should be explored. How and especially for this franchise being as old as it is, does it still have the same staying power? Does it have the impact? Have people moved past it? It's been 5 years since Spectre came out. Do people care about Bond anymore? Obviously, they still do, but it is an interesting commentary to explore, which it really seems like they're going to here, which I'd
and where does this person, is this, it's what was really interesting about this, and this ties back into that opening sequence as well, and the rest of the trailer as well. But basically, I like that the movie is, it's kind of questioning, going back to the I guess what I didn't say is addressing your biases for no reason. The reason I bring that up is because I think the whole film is literally about addressing Bond's, his personal biases. Literally the first argument he has, again, this sort of, I got a question for you, but I guess I'll ask that first. Do you think Madeline is a double agent?
Oh, right. Yeah. That's the, no, I don't. No, I think I think that's, that'd be very lame, predictable.
And I think it's like, at least for me watching the trailer, and this might be just my own preconceived assumptions, but it felt like the trailer framed it as being irrational.
Right, it was.
He gets very upset.
Yeah.
And then she seems very hurt. And then they take a break, and then they come back, and she seems to still be in good graces with MI6 and with all the people, because she's still working there.
Well, he's cynical because of what's happened. Yeah.
And so I think the movie itself is going to frame that whole thing as, Bond has issues, and he probably has to address them because it's going to prevent him from being happy.
Right? How can he move past his own, biases and internal demons that have really,
because he was hurt by Vesper, but that is not an excuse to distrust.
No, especially plus how many years ago was that? How many years ago was Vesper? Exactly. I mean, he's had the time to move on, but clearly he's so hard-headed that he's not able to.
And he's convinced himself that he already has moved on.
Yeah.
He thinks by letting, at the end of Quantum of Solace, he drops
Let her go.
Yeah, he thinks letting her go and pretending it didn't matter to him at all is a way to move on. Yeah. And it's not. And I think he's still hanging on to these. I mean, that's what I loved about that scene with the tape.
Yeah.
In Spectre. He clearly isn't over it, but he pretends to be. He throws it away and goes, it's nothing. And it's it really, you can tell just by his performance, it wasn't nothing. And I'm really glad they're touching back on that, because it seems, whether or not consciously or subconsciously, it was on Mendez's mind making Spectre and setting up that relationship. So I'm glad now in the payoff for that relationship, it's going to continue to be a thread, I guess. So.
Right. Well, and I think that kind of brings up something interesting that I think they might explore here. Well, first of all, the first thing I know they're going to explore, which I think hasn't been done before, which I am very much for, is exploring the things that make Bond, but are very much flaws of the character. I think a lot of this film is going to revolve around him having to change his mindset as a person and maybe reevaluate his life by exploring those inherent flaws that make him who he is. Because he's a bastard, but like you said before, he's our bastard, so we love him for that. But we also acknowledge that he's not necessarily the greatest person. The other thing that I really hope they kind of touch on, which would be very appropriate for this point in time, is masculinity and what's because he's such a closed off individual, him coming to terms with his emotions and being able to, I guess put forth those emotions and be unafraid to show them is something that could be interesting, because like you said, ever since Vesper, he's just been kind of closed off, and we did see what he used to be like before then, but we have not gotten, and that would make this whole thing go full circle if he came to terms with understanding that he doesn't have to be this hardened, brutish badass of a guy to be a man. He can show, he can be sensitive, he can be emotional. And that's something I didn't necessarily think they would explore in this film, but after watching this trailer, it's very much on the forefront of my mind, and I think it would make his arc like complete to me. So that's something that really excites me. I
mean, that's kind of the thing we need to talk about, like completing the circle, I guess, with like Casino Royale being the start. Casino Royale kind of explains Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace, because it's a two-parter. Kind of explain why he is the way he is, and like it explains like it's because of Vesper, it's because of all these like the various things. It basically sets up his personality, and then you get Skyfall, and then you get Spectre, and now this one kind of, and it's tested in various ways in both of those films. And this one seems to be coming back and now saying, okay, we know why he's this way, but now we're going to talk about whether or not that's okay. You know, whether or not we're going to question that. Because like now we know why, but now we're going to question whether or not that's healthy, whether or not that's good for him, whether or not, you know, that's fulfilling for him. And maybe giving him that Quantum of Solace that he was seeking all those years ago.
Oh my gosh.
You know, to just bring it all together. And I think like every single film has this whole era, I guess, whether or not it stands alone or whether or not they continue on with it with another actor, it is always going to be this sort of like this deep exploration of the character. Like we've seen him from like every angle now at this point, every facet of his personality. And I think it's made him this whole like the last 15 years has been like just prodding at every little aspect of the character, questioning it, like deconstructing it. And I think this film is now going to be we're arriving at the place where now like we're going to resolve all of these questions that we've been asking, and completing not it's not like an origin story per se, because I know people are going to say that's what it is, and I don't think it is. I think it's just more of a in a more meta sense. It's examining why this character has staying power, and then the next actor can just basically build off of that without having to ever have to like deliberately reference it. It just it's like a reset of who the character is in the minds of like the public, the culture. And I think it's kind of cool that we've gotten that. Like this whole era has been like this very self-reflective, like. And not even a reset. It's just kind of like it's examining things and figuring out why they work, why people like them, and then adjusting them for the modern times. But yeah, I think that's really cool. I think I'm really glad that this film isn't just gonna. I know a lot of people wanted a one-off, but I'm really glad they're not just gonna say, well, okay, we've done 4 films of that, and now here's a fucking.
It would have felt
like, random bookend.
Really weird. Yeah, it would have felt really weird.
Yeah, it would have. Not ruined his tenure, obviously, but it would have just made things feel kind of pointless. It's like, well, we did all of this, and then you just abandoned it and did something completely superfluous. But
exactly. But I guess going back to the trailer though, because that's kind of speaking from a larger sense. So going back to the trailer, where do we leave off with that? I don't even remember. We kind of like
it's when they were in London. It's when they came back and they met up with. I love that line, by the way, when he like. I just want to have a little moment to appreciate like this Bond and this Q's relationship.
Oh, it's great.
Because it's so good.
It's so good.
It's like I love like the dynamic, and we saw a little bit of that where he's like, "I've missed you," and he like barges into his apartment. That's just it perfectly encapsulates their entire relationship, and I'm glad we're seeing more of that. I really think they've nailed the dynamic between these guys. I know people had a problem with how much the MI6 crew were in Spectre, but. It's cool that they have this like established dynamic now. We know how this Moneypenny and this Bond interact. We know how this Q, this Bond interact, and so now we're just getting to see them play, and that's awesome.
Oh no, I'm all for it. I agree.
I couldn't stop smiling. It was just so like a fanboy thing.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say you brought up something interesting, which was that the glass on the front door of Q's apartment looks very similar to the glass when we see Rami Malek in his mask kind of looking through the other side. So begs the question, is this one of our first encounters with the villain, or maybe with some of his henchmen? Because I'm assuming his henchmen wear the same masks. You know, do they barge into Q's apartment? Do they kill Q? Who knows? Could you imagine if they kill Q? That'd be fucking ballsy.
Nope. That would be ballsy, but also tragic.
It would be tragic. Yeah, no. Well, what do you make of that? Do you think
Wish would die?
Yeah, right. Do you think that is just like that's like some trickery, coincidence, or do you actually think that's them getting ready to barge into Q's apartment?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think it would probably tie into I don't know what that raid was at the very immediately after the Universal logo when they're doing that, like the special ops is like dropping into the room and they knock the window out. I get the feel because I think that I didn't really look at the cityscape in the background, but I think that's London.
Yeah, that would make.
So if that's happening in London and then Rami is showing up or someone connected to Rami is showing up at Q's apartment, I feel like it's probably part of the same sequence.
Yeah.
Maybe there's just like a raid going on and they're like just collecting as much information as they can. Maybe it's part of breaking Blofeld out. I don't know.
Who knows? Yeah,
because we see immediately after this we see Blofeld and his holding
stuff, which
and Tanner calls him the most valuable asset the country has.
I love that, and I love that shot where it's like it's the front on of him, and then it's like him, it's just his silhouette, but then it kind of looks like he dissipates like a specter.
Oh,
whoa!
Wow.
Like this little figure that's like haunting Bond throughout his entire life. So that was a really nice.
I love how uncomfortable he looks in that scene when he confronts him.
Yes.
And that kind of ties into what I want to say. Like Craig looks like he's having the time of his fucking life.
He looks like he's acting like he's doing so much
really
more. Yeah.
Into it. Yeah. He just seems to be really into it, really into like where they're going with the character. And he's not, because I think he's been, I think some people overblow how like not into Spectre he was, but I think in Spectre especially, he was kind of doing the Connery like detached cool guy thing, and I think for some people that read as not being into it.
Yeah.
He's not doing that anymore.
No.
He's very much emotionally invested in every single thing. Like that bit when he like sort of confronts Rami like towards the end, he like just
fucking love.
There's something where he's projecting his voice. He is just so powerful.
Yeah.
And it's so cool.
Yeah. Fuck. I love that line. I can't remember the line.
It's like history isn't kind to men who play God.
Play God. Oh God, it's so good. And then like Rami,
so cool.
The look on Rami's face.
Yeah,
Good
he's like
Lord.
Tons. And like, which by the way, because we see like now we're just gonna sort of. I think we're just gonna jump all over the place.
Well, we can go into the Rami stuff now because that is the next. Well, we see the little montage of Bond and Madeline together, showing their relationship, which I love. You know, with Blofeld taunting him, cool. Of course.
And actually, this is just coming to me now. But the fact, are those going to be flashbacks, or are we gonna, maybe that Matera stuff isn't the pre-title sequence, because maybe we come from pre-titles into their relationship. And then we get that as like the first big action sequence of the first act.
That might be onto something. Because I know the first thing that I thought of for the pre-title sequence was
because we see a lot of them like hanging out.
Yeah, exactly. The first thing I thought of for the pre-title sequence was going to be Bond in the tunnels, and then when he does that when he does the gun barrel thing at the very end of the trailer, I'm like, oh, okay, that's going to be going into kind of like Casino Royale going into the titles or something like that. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, but that doesn't make sense because he's left the service. So like, why would he be going on a mission in tunnels? So that, immediately like scrap that idea. But I think you're right.
People would lose their shit if they made that the gun barrel.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But
no, I think, and then this. So maybe that flashback with like Little Madeline is the opening scene, and if they do need like a big punchy action set piece, maybe there's like a Nomi action scene, like we see her.
Oh, you know what? That's actually I didn't think about that, but you might be right with that.
So like we see like maybe we cold open on that flashback, and then we fade into present day where like Nomi is dealing with Rami's people. So that's the connection between the two scenes. It's like the man with the mask. She's dealing with that, and maybe she's overwhelmed, or maybe something happens that is like very, very, monumental for her.
Yeah.
Like, break, opening title sequence, come back. Bond is like Skyfall, where he's like sort of living the simple life for a bit.
You know what? I think you might be right there, because that would be very, very. What you're describing, I think, would be a lot longer than what this is, but kind of like that cold open where you open on, like From Russia with Love, where it's like, it's no one pertaining to Bond. It's like them on another mission or whatever. Or even that part in Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol where. I forget the actor's name, but Sawyer from Lost is like going on that little tailing mission. That wasn't like a pre-opening or anything, but it's like it was like basically showing what happened before, everything went down and before
Ethan gets back involved. In the story.
Exactly.
Yeah, so basically showing like how MI6 is dealing with the Rami situation before Bond comes back. Yeah, exactly. And I think maybe she, in that opening scene, she discovers a clue that ties Madeline to the thing, and then that's why they rope her back into MI6 later on in the story, because she seems to be with Madeline. Yeah. At least when they come around the corner, they're together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's possible. I mean, that's probably why she shows up in Jamaica. She's probably like, hey, what's going on with your estranged lover? I need information about her.
Right. Well, speaking of Jamaica, that's also where we get Ana de Armas, who, if you've read the...
Is that Cuba?
Did they shoot in Cuba too?
They didn't shoot in Cuba, but they shot on Pinewood, doubling for Cuba.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
yeah.
Right. Okay. So we'll assume that she was in, we'll assume she was in Cuba for that one. Which is where we get the like Spectre party that he crashes. He's always crashing Spectre parties.
But that spotlight. It was like, it felt like the first thing I thought when I saw it, I thought two things, but they're kind of goofy. The first thing I thought was like, oh, that's a musical number. And then the second thing I thought was, it was like a nightmare. It was like, how it was like the nightmare version of the meeting scene from Spectre, where it's like, when he pulls out Bond. Yeah. It's like that, like just like instantly singled out.
Yeah.
It's going to be neither of those things, obviously.
Yeah.
But it is kind of, I thought that was like beautifully shot. That was just such a cool like little moment where like, and
once again with the visuals, like the visuals for this, they just look incredible. Yeah.
And you see like that reaction shot from Anna where she's like looking and she looks shocked. So, well, I mean, we don't really know if that's the reaction to that actual moment, but it's make you think it is.
Right. We don't know a whole lot about her character, but Cary Fukunaga in that same Empire breakdown did say that she is playing a CIA agent. So whether or not Felix told Bond to maybe he like warned him about her, or he kind of went around her because he didn't trust her for something.
Clearly he's going outside of the CIA for this. So,
right. Yeah. So, like, she might be a double agent with a connection to Rami Malek, or
she's a bad guy. I really want her to be a bad guy.
I know, man. Or she could, or it could be an instance where like, she's the good guy CIA agent, and then maybe like Billy Magnuson is another CIA agent who's like, or someone who's like doubling for a CIA. I don't know, because we have no idea what Billy Magnuson is doing.
Dude is just a mystery.
I know. I'm very curious about him. Yeah.
Which would be cool, but yeah, no, I honest to God don't know. I don't think she's gonna be in the film a ton.
Yeah,
I think she's gonna be more like the sacrificial lamb. Whether or not she dies or not is to be determined, but I think she'll only be in those Cuba sections.
Yeah.
And so whether or not that, like, I don't know if making her a turncoat for just such a small role would have enough of an impact or not, but who knows? But I really want her to be a bad guy. I think she's got the look.
That would be cool. Yeah.
There's something really different. Like, she's been sympathetic in every movie I've seen so far. I just want to see her be like a bitch.
Let's get a femme fatale. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be cool.
So yeah, moving away from that into the Rami stuff. First of all, the first thing that I love, and this is kind of leading into the Rami stuff, that action sequence with the helicopter charging at him in that fucking Jeep, the way that is shot is unbelievable. That aerial shot, you get all the dirt kicking up in the water. It looks all gritty.
You know what it reminded me of, kind of, because it was in the woods, and because of the how gritty it was, it kind of reminded me of that chase scene from The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like, it just a little bit reminded me of that, which is great because that's a cool scene. But Yeah, no, just the fact that he's like having a showdown with this fucking like helicopter, and there seems to be so much going on. He's in his car at one point, he's on foot in one point, and then he's also like you see Nomi driving her car, her Aston, next to him at some point. So like she's probably involved in the scene in some way as well.
Yeah.
So many moving pieces in this sequence. I can't wait to see it.
Right, and like even before that, there's that tunnel sequence. But I'm like so excited for this tunnel sequence because I love the tactical gear, but then I love the gun he's using with the assault rifle with the sniper. Him just like this is Bond that we haven't seen before, and so I love that.
He has that same gun when he's like that you're like what you said was your favorite shot.
Oh yeah, when he's got the drawstring sweater on, he's like it's kind of like the Skyfall shot, but he's got an assault rifle in the corner. I love that. Seems to be part
of the same sequence of when he's captured by Rami because he's wearing the same drawstring like sweater thing.
Right.
But anyway, Rami.
Let's get on to Rami. Let's get on to this fucking maniac. Holy Lord, this guy is.
I think how you say it's Safin.
Yeah,
I haven't heard anyone say that one ever, so beats me. But yeah. Dude, like, first of all, his voice, I think we were talking about this beforehand. His voice feels like the kind of voice that only Rami Malek could do because it is so strange. Like he's like doing an accent and I couldn't tell you where it's from. And then on top of that, he has like this weird, like either because he's had like surgery or because he's so badly burned that it's like killed all his nerves. He kind of talks like this, like he's like having to like punch through his lips to get the words out. And it is because like I noticed when he said like something of like he said something, I forget the line. He said you could be it could be looking at the reflection.
Yeah, it's like so looking at there's something like that.
He said it's the strangest like affect to his voice. And it was just at that point, it sort of became clear. It's like, oh, that's why they got Running Malek. Like,
I was like, and then he's like talking about the skill set and like him living forever. Like it's like, well, when you die, like your skills or whatever. But it's like for me, it's like it lives on or something like that. Which
I'm gone, it'll live on.
Right, which kind of leads to the theory that he's probably a lot older than what he appears to be. Like he's been somehow genetically staying youthful, which we know Purvis and Wade love their gene therapy, but maybe they finally fucking found a way to make it work. Like I don't know. Like it's really interesting. Like what is he talking about with this like god?
Cary Fukunaga and Phoebe Waller-Bridge found a way to make it work.
I'm sorry. That's definitely more aligned with what it is. Some people are saying that he's like a clone. Some people are saying that he's like disguised as someone else. It's like I don't buy any of that.
I don't buy it either, but there was also that one line where he's like, when he says he's looking at a reflection, it's like, are you being literal? Because that could have been stitched together from a bunch of different pieces of dialogue is the thing.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And, I mean, like, could he be talking about, I mean, I doubt it. But,
literally a clone of Bond? Are you fucking kidding me?
Not of him, of himself.
Oh, like, yeah.
God, if they clone Bond, that would be a disaster.
That would be a disaster. But like if he's a clone, but if it's the same guy who's just cloned himself, and that's how he keeps living, that might be interesting. That would be weird. That would be some weird shit.
It's like it reminds me of Agent Under Fire. That's because like that had a bunch of clone stuff going on in that. And that'd be pretty cool because I like that game. But,
right, but also that would very much be in line with like stuff that Cary Fukunaga has done before. I mean, look at a show like Maniac. That's a really interesting show. I mean, obviously is far from being like anything related to Bond, but like they do some like heavy sci-fi stuff in there, and I can see like his fascination with that, so I could see why maybe they'd want to tie that into this. It just feels like a little bit out there, but like if it's a fine line, but if they do it right, it could work and be really interesting.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to go like full Gemini Man and like have them like fighting each other and all that bullshit. But I don't think they're going to go that far.
No.
But if you just like sort of toy with it, because he could be attempting it and actually not be successful.
Right, that's
like,
true. And
attempting it, I think, falls within the realm of believable and acceptable for this universe.
Yeah.
Speaking of him living forever, I just posted this on Twitter. But I gotta clear something up. He does. I think the scene where he's under the ice. Well, where
I was trying to figure that out because that was one of the things that I was struggling with was like him and Lea Seydoux are so close in age that it's not believable to think that she would be younger while he's like, trying to kill her or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, to clarify, I think just to clarify for people who haven't I don't think it's Bond under the ice.
No, it's not.
I know it's not because you can see there's a shot of like them banging up under the ice and they're wearing like this pastel colored like thing, and which is exactly what the little girl we saw shooting in Norway was wearing forever ago when they did like second unit shooting. So we know it's not him, and the theory seems to be based on like the casting call they did that's a young Madeline, because like they're looking for someone who looked like her. People have said it might be like a daughter. I don't think that's it.
I originally thought that, but I also don't.
And they were talking about like secrets, but it's like I don't think that they could, like, within 5 years. There's no way that they had a child.
Maybe
she doesn't look 5 years old. She looks at least like 10, but at least.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think like for me anyway, I think it's. I mean, it could be, honestly. They keep talking about her having a secret, but I don't think
it could be that she had a kid, didn't tell him, and then the kid died at the hand of Rami Malek.
I mean, it's possible. I don't think it is, but because then there's another secret. It's like, why did he kill her? Like, why does that even matter to him?
Well, because he probably has some connection to Mr. White and
right, but then I guess, but that just sort of feels. I don't know. I don't think that's it. It could be. We'll put it out there just so that, like, if it happens, we can say we said it. But But I think it's her as a child.
Yeah.
It basically, specifically that story that she told about like intruders coming to her home and her getting like the gun under the, like, with the bleach and like shooting the intruder. And I think the reason I think that this is a flashback rather than just a sequence that happened in modern times is that, first of all, you see the scarring on Rami's face. It's like raw.
It looks like way more disfigured than he does.
It's aggressive, and it looks like it looked like he dunked his chin in acid, because it's gross. And also his hair is jet black. And then later on, when you see him talking in his little lair, which, first of all, beautiful.
Great homage to Blade Runner 2049.
Seriously, it looks like a Blade Runner 2049 set. But and if there's cloning in it, then there's another great homage. Like maybe they're replicants instead of clones.
It's connecting universes.
I guess it came with Anna, the whole package.
They're like, listen, Anna.
We need you to bring the script for Blade Runner 2049. We need you to bring the sets. We need you to bring everything.
We'll even see Jared Leto.
Yeah, that's why they wanted Denis to do it. Yeah. But anyway, that's like fucking stupid.
That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But anyways, yes.
But anyway, yeah. So when they have like that confrontation scene, I guess he's got like gray streaks in his hair.
Yeah, he does. He's got a little bit of salt and pepper.
And his like scars look like they've healed.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, they've been like surgically fixed.
Yeah.
To an extent. So I think that happens at least 20 years prior to the events of the film, which is why I think it's a flashback, and which is why I think it happens at the very beginning of the film, to sort of set up this strange relationship between Safin and Madeline.
Yeah.
But which then again Blofeld like goes, because I guess he knew all of Mr. White's dirt because they worked together, right. And then he by virtue knows all of Mr. White's daughter's dirt as well.
Right.
So that all makes sense to me. But yeah, it sort of comes back to the question of how is he possibly basically like the same age, not like, I mean, like only like 10 years older.
He doesn't look like he's aged that much to be like, because exactly. Him and Lea Seydoux look so close in age, it's really hard to believe.
She's 33 and I think he's 38. So
yeah, it's one of those where it's like he probably is doing something to keep himself youthful, to keep him longer. Yeah. I mean, he's probably Dracula for all we know. Would not be surprised if Rami Malek was actually a vampire.
Maybe that's what David meant when he said he was scoring a Dracula thing.
Son of a bitch. He
was
told
telling
us.
the whole
He
time.
told we all. Oh, son of a bitch.
He was screaming
on
it from the
something.
rooftops, and we didn't get it.
I know.
But yeah, no. So I think that's what's going on there. And I guess the question is then, what do you think could possibly be the connection between the two, other than that, like him nearly killing her as a child? What is like their relationship? Because it seems like there's more going on there than just, oh, he tried to kill me back in the day. Like, what do you think the secret is? Like, I guess.
I don't know. I'm really struggling there. And from what I understand, this was the biggest nut to crack for Cary Fukunaga, was trying to figure in that Empire thing. He talks about like trying to figure out the secrets, which is why they wanted to do it, but actually make it like good. You know, they didn't want to half-ass it. So it's like if they like worked hard at trying to figure it, then like I don't even think what I guess would even be remotely close to it. So I what is the connection? I have no idea. Maybe he's in love with her. I have no idea. And maybe he wants her. Like maybe he's lost. You know, here's the interesting thing. Maybe Rami Malek,
like in Blade Runner 2049.
Oh God, there we go.
He kills the clone in front of Bond.
There we go. That's it. That we've solved the movie. No, what I was gonna say is perhaps you know they talk about this thing of mirrors and this self-reflection sort of thing. Rami Malek's character Safin, whatever the fuck however you say it. His character, I strongly believe, is going to be the personification of everything wrong with Bond. And so when they have that encounter, it's going to be like Bond looking at a mirror and seeing everything that he hates about himself and then having to understand why he has to change as a human being. Because you know, and it's, I feel like there also might be some interesting commentary on the fact that this franchise has gone on for so long, and Rami Malek's character wants to live forever as the same person, but in order for the franchise to live on as a whole, it has to evolve. And so like that's something that Bond's going to have to learn as a person. I mean, obviously I'm talking about it from like a franchise point of view, but for this character, he has to learn to evolve as a person, whereas like Rami Malek is like, I'm going to stick to this and be this despicable person and this thing and be, you know, youthful forever and all that stuff. And so I think that's kind of where they're going with it.
It feels like the most, I completely agree. I think like it makes total sense. Because like as Craig's last film, to say sort of like, you can't be the same person forever. You can't just stay the same. You can't keep doing the same thing. You have to move on. You have to like maybe move on to other roles. Yes, like,
right,
you know,
exactly.
Let it go. And it's a good way to like sort of like, it's a good like last thing to sort of say. It's like a nice farewell, like a swan song kind of thing.
Exactly, and that's why I think
it's cool that they're actually like straight on head on addressing it rather than just pretending it's not happening.
Exactly. I love how meta this film is going to be, without beating you over the head with how meta it's going to be. But it's like
emotional.
It's meta.
They mentioned it was going to be emotional. That's probably where the emotion is going to come from. Is like,
I agree. Yeah.
Bond saying farewell to his way of life in a certain sense, like his certain aspects of his personality.
Yeah.
And us saying goodbye to him. So
right. Yeah. I completely agree. I think there's going to be a lot of nuance to this, and it gets me really excited.
I like to cry in the theater.
I know, probably. I don't think he's
excited.
Yeah, I mean, like you know, there was those rumors that they're going to kill Bond off. I don't think that's going to happen.
Metaphorically, he might be killed and reborn.
True. Very true. I don't think
it will be a literal death, though.
That's more like it. But like I really think that that's going to be the direction they take it with the villain. And if that's the case, call me fucking sold. That sounds brilliant. And I really hope they're able to thread the needle properly. Before we close out here, because we have gone on long enough, but we wanted to give you guys a thorough breakdown of this trailer and give you all our thoughts on everything going on with No Time to Die at the moment. Before we close out, Brody, what are your closing thoughts on this whole ordeal?
I am super psyched. I don't really have anything like profound to say. It's just, it was great. It was awesome. And then on top of that, I think, it just, I think, well, I said this on Twitter as well. I've put a lot of my thoughts, I sort of like thought them out and I typed them out just to sort of get them out of my head so that I could sleep. But though I guess it hasn't been 24 hours yet, so I haven't had to sleep. But basically, it feels like a marriage of styles. It feels like a marriage of like you have like this like early Craig era I guess the impact of those films with the style and the I guess the style and the emotion.
I was gonna say the character work, of the latter stuff,
like the Mendes stuff, and then just sort of it feels like a marriage of those things, and I'm really glad they're not just like picking and choosing one thing over another.
I am
like
too.
They're sort of making it a whole, warts and all, you know.
This really does feel like the culmination of his tenure, and I hate the word culmination because I always associate it with the MCU, but it really does feel like the culmination of his tenure in terms of just like, you know, the viscerally intense action that we've come to expect from him that was really established in Casino and Quantum, mixed with the more like stylistic and character elements that we get from, like you said, the Mendes films, the artistry, the filmmaking craft that we get from those films. This just feels like a great way to cap off Craig's tenure, and this is an incredible first trailer. I can't wait for the second trailer, which hopefully comes around during the Super Bowl, which hopefully is when we get the Bond song announcement.
If they put the song in the trailer, I'm done.
I'm very excited to see who they get for that. I'm very excited to see who they get for that. But
I'm just curious. I'm curious whether or not they've chosen them already. Because we're 5 months out. Conceivably they haven't yet.
Right. Yeah. That's true. I mean, you know, there were rumors that Sting might be doing it.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that because his daughter's playing like a a person in this film. Right.
Which could
like a bit part.
I'd be okay with that. Sting could be interesting.
That'd be cool. Yeah, I mean, we had? I mean, I wonder if he'll sing it or if
he'll just write it.
Yeah.
That does get me curious.
On the edge kind of thing where they just write it and then they say like, well, Tina Turner sounds like she could probably sing this kind of song better than we could.
Yeah. I'm really curious as to what style they go with, what kind of artists they're going to go with. And all this stuff. The musical side of this, I am very much interested in, but that's a conversation for a later time. But the most important.
I was actually going to add one more. No.
Go ahead.
It was just kind of like because you said you were really hyped for the woods chase, whatever that is, like the helicopter showdown.
Yeah, that looks incredible.
This probably gets you more hyped because the vibe I get from it, it kind of feels like it's going to be because it seems so extended. It's probably going to be like a Madagascar chase or a Miami's international chase. It's gonna be like that.
Give me one of those. Give me one of those Casino Royale elaborate action set pieces.
Long. Yeah.
Yes, fuck yes. If it is as elaborate as that, I am so fucking in for that because as I'm sure many of you all know, the Madagascar chase in Casino Royale is my favorite action set piece of all time. Like just bar none. It's just fucking incredible. But the most important thing is, what do you all think? We want to hear your thoughts on the No Time to Die trailer in the comment section below of wherever you're listening to this episode, whether it be on YouTube, whether it be on podcast form, wherever it is. Feel free to even tweet at us. Brody, you can feel free to plug the Twitter account right now at TwainPod.
Yeah, sure. So I just realized I was checking my watch. I forgot we were on camera. Yeah. But so you can follow me personally at Brody Ceravelli. The spelling will be in the description as always. But if you want to follow the show, even though I've had a bit of hiatus on Twitter as well.
He's back.
But
he's back, guys.
I'm back. And you can follow us at TwainPod. If you want my live stream of thoughts, every little minute and second of the trailer, you can find that on there. I've made a big mega thread. But it'll be fun because now we actually have some footage to talk about. We can actually have some proper theorizing, some proper discussions. So jump in because I feel like the next 5 months is going to be that. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, there's so much to dissect, theorize about. I'm sure we'll do plenty of other episodes where we do just that. But on top of all that, guys, if you feel so inclined, it would be amazing if you head on over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a rating and or a review, as it greatly helps the show out. It lets us know what you're all loving, what you think we can improve upon, and all that good stuff. And then also be sure to
even
subscribe
if it's just
to
like
that.
5 stars.
Yeah.
Wish they posted more.
Yeah, even like that. You can feel free to call us out on our inconsistency. That is always welcome. But then
I'll hold that feet to the fire.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. But then, of course, be sure to subscribe to that feed so you get all the episodes as they come your way. And then if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to the Film Speak channel for more episodes of The Words Are Not Enough, and then other movie-centric content such as movie reviews, other kinds of shows, interviews, and all that good stuff. I think I put up, speaking of Bond, I put up a glowing review of Sam Mendes' 1917. So if you're into Mendes as a filmmaker and all that good stuff, you can go check that out over on the Film Speak channel. But lastly, guys, if you like me specifically and you like what I have to say, you can give me a follow on Twitter at Griff Schiller. All right. So excited. It's 5 months away before the release of No Time to Die. I could not be any more stoked for this film. Might very well be my most anticipated of next year. Who knows? But what do you were on a Bond podcast and it's not your most anticipated?
Yeah, right. No shit.
I know, obviously. But anyways, guys, until next time, thank you all for joining us, and we'll catch you then. Take care.